Hey YouTubers, it's Drew. More importantly, hello Zelda fans. Yes, that's right, if you're a Zelda fan, welcome. If you're not, well, this is not the video for you. Here's why. We're going to be diving deep into Zelda Timeline's theories, characters, all sorts of things that won't make sense to you because it will sound like gibberish. Another side note, my dog will be wandering the background. His name is also Link. Hey Link! How you doing, bud? He's the blue-eyed beast from Twilight Princess Link. Yes, that is why I got him, and that is what I named him for that purpose. As you can tell, I'm a huge Zelda fan. But here's the thing, I'm not the biggest Zelda expert. So whatever I say about Zelda Timeline theories and Breath of the Wild doesn't mean it's going to be correct. I don't know what's going to happen, just like you guys. In fact, I love being surprised by games, and Nintendo has a great history of surprising us fans. Not like a game where you can call out all the shots and call out all the big twists that come around the corner. Batman Arkham Knight. Another thing before I get going, I have to say thank you to all of you guys for the overwhelming response to my Zelda trailer reaction video. It was so encouraging, but more importantly, it spurred on this great discussion of where Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to happen in the Zelda timeline. Three years ago, Nintendo gave us the official Zelda Timeline, and it was both gratifying and mind-blowing. Yes, we were right that at the end of Ocarina of Time, the timeline splits into the Child Link timeline and the Adult Link timeline, but what we didn't know is that there was a third split, a third tier, called the Fallen Hero timeline, a scenario where Ganon kills Link at the end of Ocarina of Time, thus spurring on a Hyrule in distress, where Ganon rules the universe. Sorry, I got a little dark there. So let's discuss the possibility that this game takes place in the Adult Link timeline, more specifically, before the events of Wind Waker. This is a great theory, and there's pieces of evidence to back it up, like how Nintendo is hitting us over the head with Korok presence in the game. They want us to know that Koroks are in the game, and we did get confirmation that the Great Deku Tree is in the game as well. That is further evidence to back up Wind Waker, and it's just fun to think about what caused the goddesses to flood the land of Hyrule. Could it be this Calamity Ganon? But that's the thing, guys. Calamity Ganon. What is he? It's a new form of Ganon that we haven't seen before. Yes, we've seen floating spirits of Ganon in other games, but this is something else. They are really putting an emphasis on Calamity Ganon. Is he more powerful? What's his deal? And why would he suddenly assume the role of Ganondorf again after the lands were flooded in Wind Waker? Another con to this theory is the fact that at the beginning of Wind Waker, the legend clearly speaks to the events of Ocarina of Time, not Breath of the Wild. The hero saves Hyrule from the forces of evil, but when Hyrule needed him most, Link was nowhere to be found. This refers to the events of Zelda sending Link back to his original timeline, meaning that there is no Link in the ongoing timeline until Wind Waker. Now let's jump over to the other side. The Child Link timeline. A very popular theory is that this game is going to take place after the events of Majora's Mask and right before Twilight Princess. This, of course, is very desirable. We all want to see the hero of time again. He's our favorite, right? It would explain and help us realize what happened to the hero of time after he left Termina as a kid, and then how he got to be the whole personification hero of shade deal in Twilight Princess. Like, what happened there? What was that about? But again, I have to be the bearer of negativity. Calamity Ganon! At the end of Ocarina of Time, Zelda sends Link back to his original timeline, which means that Link meets up with Zelda, which means that that's in the middle of Ganon paying his respects to the king, which means that they probably thwart his plans to take the Triforce and take Hyrule over, and then he's imprisoned later on by the sages and sentenced to death, which we see in a flashback form in Twilight Princess. So, he is then banished to the Twilight Realm. So where does this Calamity Ganon thing take place, really? You see the problem? Now, could this take place after the events of Twilight Princess? Most certainly. Twilight Princess is my favorite game, and I do believe that story deserves a sequel. But do I think it's likely? I don't know. At the end of Twilight Princess, Ganon was clearly killed. I know what you guys are thinking. Drew, Ganondorf comes back all the time. Very true. It's hard to count the games that don't have Ganon in them. But the Triforce of Power was taken away from him, and he was killed. They made a big deal about that. Let's talk about the possibility that this game takes place before Ocarina of Time and acts as a sequel to Skyward Sword. There is evidence to back this up. After all, we do see Hylia statues around Hyrule. Where else have we seen those, guys? Skyward Sword. The other event to take into consideration is Calamity Ganon once again. At the end of Skyward Sword, we defeat Demise, and he tells us that his revenge will live on, that his power will live in some incarnation of evil, that he will come back and have his revenge. Could that be an incarnation of Calamity Ganon? Could be. That actually makes a lot of sense, because then he would become Ganondorf after that, the next incarnation. But here is my problem. The sword. Yes, the Master Sword, yes, of all things, because it looks weathered, rusted, and even damaged, and it hadn't been used that much beforehand. After all, Fi did put her soul into the sword and laid it to rest, and it was fine. It was in Hylia's temple, so why all of a sudden would it be worn and weathered and all of a sudden guarded by the Great Deku Tree and all these Koroks? This is a sword that has been through battle more than once. And that, guys, is where we come to my personal theory of where Breath of the Wild takes place. I believe all Zelda games link back to Ocarina of Time in some way or another, and I do believe that this game takes place after the events of Ocarina of Time. In the Fallen Hero timeline, yes, I believe that this game is in a Hyrule without Link, in a Hyrule where Ganon had killed Link previously and he had been in stasis for 100 years. Because at the beginning of Breath of the Wild, he is going to wake up in the Chamber of Resurrection. That is confirmed. And what battle that killed him would put the Master Sword in a similar state? Because Link and the Master Sword are one, it makes sense that when he comes back and gets the Master Sword, it would be made anew. But think about this, with Link gone, does that make Ganon more powerful? Does Ganon have the Triforce of Courage? That could make him into this form that we've never seen before, Calamity Ganon, making Zelda and the sages the first line of defense. And that's another thing. The characters that we have seen in these trailers, who have a strong resemblance to the sages from Ocarina of Time, could be the connection. Am I saying that these characters are sages? Not at all. I'm not even saying they're the same characters. But I think that's the way of the creators telling us that these two games are linked together more than we think. Another thing is that the Great Deku Tree recognizes Link, and Link does not recognize him. Maybe it comes back to Link later on, I don't know, but that matches up perfectly to follow Ocarina of Time. I am going to be doing a full walkthrough on Breath of the Wild. It will be on the Game of Thumbs channel, so please check it out. But I want you guys to know it's not going to be all completed and on the channel in the first week of launch, because, you know, I do have a family of my own and I do work full time. So that being said, though, I can promise you that Breath of the Wild, the whole game, will be on Game of Thumbs, and I do beg of you, please go get the game yourself, play it, or check out someone else's walkthrough who's much quicker than I am, but then please come back and watch this game on Game of Thumbs. Guys, you guys are so great. Thank you so much. Give me a thumbs up below the video. Please continue the discussion in the comment section below and subscribe to Game of Thumbs if you haven't already. I'll see you guys later.